available to them. We'll try and make it available as soon as possible. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Welcome, everyone. Today, many of you are here because it's Sunday and members of St. George, but we also have a few other people that are here with us today. We've come to see the presentation on the Holy Pilgrimage, which just occurred in early October. How many of you are here who are on the pilgrimage? Raise your hands. Okay, so we got a handful of people here. Nice to have you with us. And if anybody has any questions at the end, I'll try and answer them. But certainly you're welcome to approach any of the other pilgrims and get their perspectives on everything that we saw and everything that we did. Now, presenting on the Holy Land it's not an easy thing to do because there is so many things that we can talk about. There are so many things that we saw and did. Probably, on my count, there was 35 distinctive destinations or holy sites in the Holy Land that we visited in our 9 days there. We do not have enough time to share all of those with you. So I'm going to share with you some of the highlights, and I'm leaning more to the side of quality versus quantity. I don't want to just show you pictures and say, hey, we were there, without giving you a little more context, a little more history about the places that we visited. So that's going to be my approach, and we'll see how far we get. So I've got 3 major things that I want to cover, and then a few others. Hope we may get to that, we may not, but hopefully we will. So, first of all, some of us traveled to Russia first, St. Petersburg specifically, and then traveled from there to Tel Aviv. The majority of the group, the 22 others, there was 13 in Russia, 22 came directly to Tel Aviv from the United States. So there's 35 pilgrims altogether who traveled on this trip. And I want to thank Tom and Mary Rudquist and Deborah Luca, who were the organizers of the trip and took care of all the details for us. And now, to start our little tour here, I've created a map. I'm a visual learner. It's helpful for me just to kind of get an idea of things spatially, geographically. So hopefully my approach will be helpful to you as well. But I just wanted to kind of give the layout of the land. And you see here, of course, the Mediterranean Sea and the areas around it, North Africa, Southern Europe, the Middle East. And you see the very large area of Turkey, or formerly Asia Minor, and just below that, in this area, you see Jerusalem. That little area is where, around Jerusalem, is what we're going to focus on. Excuse me while I might be a little disjointed while we go from slide to slide. So this is a little bit more closer in on the map, just to the area of Jerusalem and Israel, West Bank, Jordan, Syria. So this gives you an idea of places we more or less visited. Our travels centered around Jerusalem, Bethlehem, up north through Nablus. West Bank you see in green. Nablus is just to the northern part of the West Bank, and then we went outside of the West Bank up to Nazareth. And then a little bit, and then we went to the Dead Sea, which you see is the larger body of water, just above my finger, and then we went to the Sea of Galilee, which is the other body of water above there. So that kind of gives you the context of where we were. Now, in Jerusalem, we spent 3 days in Jerusalem. We might have spent a little bit more, even if we spent 3 days in Bethlehem as well, but in here in Bethlehem, we were traveling back to Jerusalem. But one of the most famous, well-known sites that we visited while we were there is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, I want to thank National Geographic for doing my job for me, for making it easier. The most recent issue of National Geographic is a cover story of the real Jesus, but it's really a lot about Jerusalem and the history of the Holy Sepulchre, which is perfect for what we're doing today. And some of the things that you'll see came right out of this article. And this is one of them here, is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Now, hold on here a second. this is the current cross-section of the Holy Sepulchre as you would see it today. Okay? Now, I'm going to get out my little pointer here if I can find it real quick, because it makes it easier for me to point on the screen. The Holy Sepulchre is the Church of the Resurrection, the sepulchre being the cave in which Jesus was buried after his crucifixion, and where, of course, he rose from the dead. So, where's my pointer? It's in here somewhere, sorry. I can't find it right now. Now, I don't know if anybody, how you can see this, but here, maybe I'll use the pointer with the mouse. So in this area here is what they call the edicule, and that is what maybe you call a little chapel that is built around the burial tomb of Christ. And then enclosing this small chapel is the much larger church of the resurrection. Okay? So there's a large dome that goes over the edicule, and then there's a smaller dome that actually is over the main part of the church of the resurrection. I'll have a schematic here, but this area right here shows Golgotha, or the rock where Jesus was crucified. And this is important here. Now, it seems like it's just sticking out, but it's really, when you see the other photos, you'll see that the church is built all around Golgotha. And there's actually a chapel which is on the level of the top of Golgotha, where we were blessed to serve liturgy one day in Jerusalem. Going back behind the eastern, this is the altar area, the eastern end of the main church. Behind there are some small chapels, and then you can take some stairs down to the chapel of St. Helen. Helen, of course, is the mother of Constantine the Emperor, and she's credited with building close to 80 churches in the Holy Land. And as well, she's credited with finding the true cross of Christ. This is, we're talking about early 4th century. Now, below, if you go even farther down, below the chapel of St. Helen, there's a chapel down here that's called the Chapel of the Finding of the Cross. In other words, this is where the cross was found. Some historians say that this was an ancient cistern. Probably it was a cistern after the 1st century church the 1st century site was there. And this is what's challenging when you're there, is trying to put the pieces together in your head, because we live in America here, which more or less we exist on one level of history, right? It's wherever we go, we don't have to dig much farther down. You don't have to dig down at all to see history. It's all pretty much on the same level, except perhaps for the Native American burial grounds are the people who lived here before us. So what I'm going to show you in these slides is how this comes to be, where you have this multi-layering of buildings and structures. And more or less it's because in ancient times, Jerusalem is a land that has been conquered by many different powers over the centuries. And when the conquering power comes through, they basically decimate or wipe out everything, level it to the ground. And then the people who come next to build or rebuild anything, they don't clear out the debris and then start building on their own. They basically build on top of the debris. And that's how you get this layering of civilization. So let me go to, so this is today, right? So let's go back, let's take a trip back in time to see how it looked at the time of Jesus. Okay, so this area above is at the time of Jesus, what the site of the Holy Sepulchre looked like. It was an ancient quarry. It was an abandoned quarry. The quarry, of course, where they carve out rock to build other structures. And so you see up above, right here, on one end of the quarry, on the high point, is Golgotha. And it was, when the Roman army was occupying wherever it occupied, when it was executing its criminals, it did it in a prominent high place so that everybody would see it. And this you see over on the right here is the old wall of the city of Jerusalem. Since the time of Jesus, the old city has been expanded so that it actually includes this area of the Holy Sepulchre. But back at the time of Jesus, the place of crucifixion was outside of the city walls. Down on the inside of the quarry, in the walls of the quarry, they dig caves or tunnels, and that's where they would bury people. So this is where the tomb of Jesus was. This is according to archaeological excavations and other historical research. So you see the distance between Golgotha and the tomb is about 140 feet, approximately 50 yards. Now, this whole area is enclosed under the great Church of the Resurrection. So Jesus was crucified on Golgotha, he was buried in the tomb here. And then this is a blow-up, if you will, of the tomb itself. So you see it was kind of dug into the side, and then there was like a little, almost like a little bench or a little bed that the person would be laid on. This is quite common for burial customs at the time. So Jesus was laid on this bench here when he was buried, and then the rock was placed over the door of the tomb. Okay. Now, not too long, about 130 years after Jesus was resurrected, Hadrian, the Roman emperor, came through. The Romans were another conquering, let's say, force or wave, if you will. What Hadrian did with the site of the crucifixion and resurrection is he had it filled in with rock and fill. So this gray area here is all the old quarry. It's now been filled in with rock. And on Golgotha, it says that he placed a statue of Venus and then built a pagan temple here. Okay? Hopefully this is helpful. You kind of see it, get a sense of it. All right. So then, when Constantine and Helen come in the early 4th century, we have this. So what they did was they took down the pagan temple and they built the first church of the resurrection, which was over the tomb of Christ. Okay? But what you can tell what happened here is part of what they did is they excavated away all of the rock of the walls of the quarry. So this area where Jesus was buried, remember that was in the side of a wall of the quarry. This has all been basically mined away to bring it down to the level where the tomb itself is. So now the tomb is at ground level, and Golgotha is almost at ground level except for a little promontory of rock here. So you have this temple here was over the Edicule, the place of the resurrection, then you had a separate temple of worship, Christian worship over here, and you see the chapel of Helen and the finding of the cross. Well, that was, so back in the day, this was probably maybe part of the quarry where when the Romans came through, they said that they either used it as a water cistern or a dump. They just put garbage in. This is where the crosses were found. And of course, we know the story about Helen finding the cross. Now, when the Persians came through in the early 7th century, they were the next conquering force, if you will. They leveled everything, tore it all down. Then, about 300 years later, 400 years later, the Crusaders come. The Crusaders build a new temple. And this is what you have. So it's similar, but it's different. The temple over the Edicule has been enlarged, and there was an opening in the top of the roof. This structure here is the main church. So in reality, much of the Crusader temple that was built approximately 1100 AD, maybe 1000. So it's still standing. Now, and then there was a fire in the 19th century, and the dome over the edicule collapsed and damaged the edicule itself. And then, so there's been a lot of restorative reconstruction over the last 150 years, and probably the most well-known is just what occurred within the last year or two was with the restoration and renovation of the edicule, and much of what you may have seen on TV was recorded. They opened up the tomb for the first time in 500 years. Historically, it's very important. Right, so this is a view. This is probably a very recent photo. It comes right out of the National Geographic article. This is from the top of the dome looking down on the edicule. Okay. And this is looking from the east towards the west, towards the edicule under the large dome. Let me just give you a little map layout of the Holy Sepulchre. This is looking down from above, and it's just a sketch or a scale. Now this might help when you see some of the photos I'm going to show you in just a moment. So again, the edicule is right here, the rotunda and the large dome over this area. This is the main church, the Catholicon here, with the altar in the eastern portion. There's small chapels behind. The chapel of St. Helena, when you go down to the first flight of steps, which is quite a ways down. I guess it's at least 15 to 20 feet. And of course you go down even farther, and this is the grotto finding the cross. This area right here is the courtyard outside the main entrance. So the main entrance into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is on the south side. And people gather here, and then they enter here. To this area right here is the Chapel of Golgotha. And these represent very steep stairs going up to the chapel. And the rock is enclosed in glass, and there's an altar built on top of it. So you can actually see the rock of Golgotha, and there's a little hole under the altar. You can place your hand through it and touch that rock. This one is a little bit different. I won't go over in detail, but it's nice. It's nice. A lot of this stuff you can find on the internet, so I'm not giving you anything special that we did or we found. But it's nice because it has all these areas numbered in the Holy Sepulchre. So let's take a look at some of the photos. This is from the outside. It's one of the towers. They pulled the Patriarchate of Jerusalem, where Patriarch Theophilus is, and Archbishop Theophanes, who was our host for the day that we were at the Patriarchate. They have their offices, and they have their living quarters in this compound, if you will, that extends around the Holy Sepulchre, but it's on the next level up. There's at least 2 or 3 levels to the city of Jerusalem. There's probably on the bottom level is where you walk through those winding streets, and there's all the vendors with their various shops you go through. And then there's this next level up where many people live or have their homes and offices. Right, so this is a rock on one of the sides of the chapels there. You can see the IC Mika cross, very ancient symbol of our faith. This is looking at the south main entrance from outside of the Holy Sepulchre. There's 2 main gates at one time. One on the right is now closed off or rocked up, if you will. This is in one of the chapels of the Patriarchate, not in the Holy Sepulchre itself. But we were given a little tour by Archbishop Theophanes. This is one of the. This is in one of the chapels. You have many of you are familiar with the Catholic Stations of the Cross, which there are 14. And the last 4 of them are within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is Jesus nailed to the cross before, either right before or right after the cross was put up straight. It's all mosaic tile here. Mosaic tile here right now. This is looking up into the dome of the main church of the Holy Sepulchre. Beautiful mosaics here as well. This is Golgotha. So this is that, you're looking through glass right here into the rock of Golgotha. This is another angle right after you walk into the main entrance, looking up into the main dome of the main church. Another view. This is probably one of the most beautiful parts, in my opinion, of the Holy Sepulchre. When you first walk into the south entrance, there's a huge mosaic. This is all mosaic tile of the descent apokathilosis of Christ from the cross. You see them taking him down from the cross and then laying him down on the ground, getting ready to anoint him, wrap him, burial. Quite a large mosaic. Right in front of that mosaic is, you see this slab here. This is the slab that Jesus was placed upon as he was anointed and wrapped for burial. The most amazing part about this rock is it is still fragrant with myrrh. You go to, it's very strong, you smell it right away. And so of course people are touching it and anointing themselves after touching it. A quote from the Gospel of John, having to do with the crucifixion. And then now this is a photo of the edicule. It's going right over the burial place of Christ, and then the large dome above. Another look at the dome above. And now this is below the chapel of Golgotha. Down below is what they call the chapel of Adam. So the tradition tells us that Jesus was crucified on the place of the skull, Golgotha, which was believed to be the ancient burial site of Adam himself. So that's why they call this the chapel of Adam. And then, so there's many places where you go where there's a window, if you will, that you can see through to something else of historic value that you can't touch. This is one of the other chapels that's behind the main altar. One of the chapels is Chapel of Flagellation, where they whipped Jesus. One of them, I think, is also the Chapel of the Mountain. This is an interesting pillar because it shows little crosses that were carved into it, and many of them come from the times of the Crusaders. Now this is looking down into the main courtyard, going into the southern main entrance of the Holy Sepulchre. You see partial of me there, Mary Redquist looking down. The interesting thing here is you may notice the ladder. That ladder's been in place there for at least, I believe, 200 years approximately, and it is a sign or symbol of the status quo that exists in Jerusalem, where it was decreed a long time ago that no changes were to be made to the Holy Sepulchre without agreement between all parties which have ownership, meaning all religious parties, Orthodox, Catholic, Armenian, Copt, and so on. So it's of course, very difficult for people to come to an agreement, and nobody touches the ladder because anything you touch or move or change is seen as a usurpation of ownership. So very forbidden to do anything like that. So the Holy Sepulchre is technically under the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Jerusalem. It really has control of the whole site, but the Catholics, the Copts, many of them have, the Armenians, they share in, if you will, kind of, I want to say ownership doesn't sound like the right word, but they share in the use of the sepulchre. So there's certain times, certain days that these different groups do their services, one of the things that happened to us is when we had liturgy at the Chapel of Golgotha, which was a midnight liturgy, most of us were going to go after liturgy to venerate the Holy Sepulchre, the tomb of Christ. It was approximately 2:30 in the morning, and when people went down there, almost right after they got there, the Armenians came in and said, it's our time to worship, do our service, so nobody else could access the tomb. So our group left, go back to the hotel, and came back later to venerate the tomb. When I got done with my responsibilities after liturgy, and I got there, because I was expecting everybody to be there venerating the tomb, I got there, nobody was there, they were all gone. The only people that were left were 3 people, the Armenian priest, the Armenian deacon, and the Armenian chanter. That was it. There was no pilgrims, nobody else there. But it was an example of how they try and share the use of the site. There's another view. These are all views of the main courtyard looking down the bell tower. There's a close-up of the ladder. There's the top of the dome. This is one of the Stations of the Cross is behind these windows here, and I'm trying to remember which one. It's like one of the last ones before Jesus is crucified. It's actually an entrance. There's stairs going up in there, but the entrance has been closed off now. Another view of the Golgotha rock. Another view of the large mural icon of the descent from the cross. Details of the angels. I don't know if you can notice what's going on with the angels there. Can you tell? They're crying. There's tears coming from their eyes as they watch Jesus lowered from the cross. And then some of them are covering their eyes. They can't stand to watch what's going on. So this is the edicule. Outside of it, and there's another view of the dome. Sorry, these are not necessarily in order. This is another view of the Chapel of Adam. Another view of one of the chapels behind the Holy Altar. This is the Chapel of St. Helen. Okay. And you see to the right where this man is standing is the stairs going down to the grotto of the finding of the cross. Another view. This man in the foreground is Shukri, who is our guide, Palestinian Christian. Very knowledgeable, very enjoyable to have him be our guide. This is a detailed floor. This is a good example of a lot of the mosaic work that you see. I believe this is the Armenians control this chapel right now, and I think this is Armenian language written here with words. More Crusader crosses carved into the wall. Another one of the chapels behind. This is, many of you know about the story when the Holy Sepulchre was closed during Passover one year, and the flame, there's a great tradition about the flame of the resurrection that descends upon the edicule between Christ, and that ignites the lamps mystically. When the sepulchre was closed, the flame came out from this pillar. That's how it lit the lamps of candles of the faithful. This is the actual altar in the main church. This is the apse above the main altar. Some icons behind the main altar. This is a view of the Holy Sepulchre. You can see people entering, getting ready. There's Barb Nichols right there, getting ready to enter. I don't know if that's Stephanie. Is that Stephanie? Is that you right there? Yeah. So it's a little close-up of the icon above the entrance to the edicule. This is the Armenians. I took a photo when they were, so the priest and the deacon were there celebrating liturgy. It's another view of the descent of the cross. Another view of the edicule. I'm looking for a specific picture here. Just another entrance. There we go. Okay, so when you first, there's a little antechamber when you first go into the edicule, and this rock under glass here is part of the stone that was rolled away from the tomb. In other words, the stone is the door of the tomb. This is the act, so then you go under, you bend over, you stoop down to go into the actual chamber. And then inside the chamber here, you see this tapestry. It says Christos Anesti, Christ is risen. And this right here is the marble platform which Jesus was laid to rest, if you will. Now, he wasn't laid directly on this marble, but this marble covers the place where he was laid. Okay? So if you remember the renovation that was done in the last year or two, they talked about how they removed this marble and they were able to see directly the stone upon which Jesus was laid in the tomb. There's another view of the door, the stone at the door of the tomb. This is a photo with one of the men who is caretaking, if you will, the entrance to the tomb. The view of the door of the tomb. This is a good view of the main church looking to the east towards Lake Anastasi. Looking up into the dome of the main church. And then I took some photos of the Greek inscriptions around the Holy Sepulchre. That small chapel over the tomb. Underneath, next to the chapel of the Adam, is the treasury of the Greek Orthodox Church in Jerusalem, where they have many relics of different saints. This relic that we're looking at right here is the skull of Saint Paraskeve the Samaritan woman, the sister of Photini, the Samaritan woman who met Jesus at the well. These are cabinets for reliquaries inside this room, all having relics of the saints. Beautiful, very special. Father Polycarpos was the kind of the priest monk who was organizing everything the night that we celebrated liturgy at Golgotha. Very nice, hospitable young priest. There was Jalil is one of the Israeli policemen who was working that evening at the Holy Sepulchre. Another view of the reticule. Okay, I think this is mostly a repetition here. So close up of the rock there where Jesus was laid for the burial. Archbishop Aristarchos was the celebrant of the liturgy of Golgotha, one of the archbishops of the Patriarchy of Jerusalem. There's another view of him during the liturgy. A little holy mud that's been placed, you can see it, how the glass covers the rock of Golgotha. The outside of the tomb there, another rock of Golgotha. Okay, so I'm going to leave the Holy Sepulchre, and we're going to go to the next spot, which is the Nativity Church of Bethlehem. And the Nativity Church has a rich history as well. I've tried to find a diagram that would show kind of what it looks like, similar to what I could find. Unfortunately, National Geographic has not done a presentation about a feature article of the Church of the Nativity, so I don't have as much good schematics for you. But this is kind of an aerial view of the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. We stayed in Bethlehem 3 days. We were able to stay with Rita Kamabadi's uncle at his hotel and shopped at her brother John's shop next door and got to meet her family, spent a lot of time with them, so it was very enjoyable. So this up above, the main entrance to the Holy Sepulchre is on the west end. You'll see another photo. This photo here is the entrance, or what they call the door of humility, because you have to bend over, stoop down to get through that door. It's very small. And you see, at one time there was a larger entrance that you could walk through, and then before even that, there was a larger entrance that you could ride a horse through. But these were all reduced in size to make entrance difficult to get into the church. You'll see some photos of the pillars that are inside the church. You'll see some photos of the trapdoors that cover the original floor of the church that was built at the time of St. Helen, and some of the mosaics that are right there. This is the solea, the holy altar here to the east, and underneath, there's a little cutout here, underneath is the actual grotto of the Nativity where Jesus was born. So this just kind of gives you a little idea of how things are done. So we'll just take a quick look at some of these photos. So when you go into the grotto, and you go underneath the altar, there's another altar that is right over the place of Jesus' birth. And this star here, this 14-point star, remember in a couple of weeks we'll have the gospel of the genealogy of Christ, which recounts 14 generations from Adam to, I can't remember how it goes, but there's 3 sets of 14 generations. Well, that's the 14 points of the star, emphasizing this succession of generations leading to the birth of the Christ. So when pilgrims come in, they kneel down and they venerate this. You can actually just put your hand through that opening and touch the rock upon which Jesus was born. These coverings here really make the area much more bright and attractive, if you will. Beautiful, because if you take all that stuff down, it's kind of smoke, charred rock that's very dark. So this is actually an ancient photo. I should say ancient. It's an older photo of the Holy Sepulchre. When we were there, there's tons of scaffolding because there's an ongoing renovation, so we couldn't see some of these things clearly or easily. But this is the main view going to the eastern end of the church where the altar is. Up above here, you see these mosaics. Maybe not even 50 years ago, these were kind of blackened or darkened. They couldn't really see them. I think I have a couple of photos that will show you what they look like after the restoration. This is going through that main entrance, the door of humility. So you see a couple of our pilgrims have to stoop in to go in. This is a close-up of the star. When you turn around, when you're facing the place where Jesus was born, if you just turn around, right behind you is the place where he was laid in the manger, okay, after he was born. And that's what this is. You're seeing this little spot of the manger. This is an outside view of the walls. Another thing that is underneath, there's not only under the grotto of Jesus' birth underneath the Church of the Holy Nativity, but there is the Chapel of the Innocents. All those 29,000 children who were killed by Herod, their bones are in this chapel underneath. You see many of them. You see many like femurs that are this size. You can tell it's children. And there's another view of the. I'm sorry, this is the stairs going down to the chapel of St. Jerome. Jerome was the translator that translated the Bible from Greek into Latin in the 4th century. That's a statue of him, Hieronymus. This is the Catholic Church that's right next to the Church of the Nativity, and right coming the view from the courtyard. This is inside the church of the Catholic Church next to that, so you can see it's much more kind of modern looking church. There's a large icon of the Nativity of Christ. This is outside. There you see again the door of the humility. You see the larger entrance you could walk through, and then you see the really large entrance that you could, like I said, take a horse or carriage through. Another view of that area. This is what I was talking about earlier, that trap doors that show you the original full floor of the Byzantine church. The mosaic work is exquisite. You just don't see anything like that. It's so again, the level that you're walking on is at least a few inches, if not a foot or two above the original. And then they have the part of the restoration is they have some explanatory murals or explain how the work is being done and go over that detail with you. So here, Shukri, our guide, is talking to our group of pilgrims. You can see all of the scaffolding and stuff that's up inside there. This is the main nave of the church. And you can't really see much because of all the restoration. That's looking the other way towards the east. Shukri again. The pillars, as I mentioned, some of them are covered up as part of the restoration work. Now look at the detail of the capital of that column there. Look at that's carved. It's carved stone. It's very beautiful. This is to the right of the solea, the nativity. The people are going down. This is the entrance into the grotto. There's a beautiful icon right here. I'm going to show you closer of that in just a moment. Another view. Okay, so you can get a glimpse of the mosaics on the upper walls there. Look at the coloring here. This is that icon I want to show you. This is a really unique icon. It shows the Virgin, not unique because of the Virgin Mary and the child, but the expression on her face. Almost a smile. Because she's happy about the birth of her son. Another icon. Okay, this is looking down, so you can see it's almost like people are falling into a hole to go into the grotto there. And grotto's not a big place, and it's amazing how many people they fit in there, as people cycle through to venerate the birthplace of Christ. The icon of the altar, altars. These organic lamps that are hanging over the solea of the upper church. Towers. And this is where we're entering. This is once you're going inside down the stairs into the chapel of the innocents. And there's an icon you see up here, all the innocents surrounding Christ, and then this one very graphically showing the innocents being slaughtered by the Roman soldiers. Again, some of the skulls and bones. Again, this is like a grotto or cave of the innocents. This is one of the side entrances of one of the chapels. I can't remember exactly which one. This is outside of the courtyard again. Now, let me just tell you real quick about this. Is again looking from the west to the east to the main entrance of the church, the Lord of Humility there. One of the reasons that the church of the Holy Nativity was not razed to the ground by the Persians in the early 7th century was because the Persian invaders saw a big mural icon of the three wise men.
Okay, it's all good.
They recognized their clothes from the east, right? It's thought they saw it as something special or holy, or at least something that shouldn't destroy. And that's how the Church of the Nativity was saved, if you will, from the Persian invaders. Another look there. Entrance. In the scaffolding, looking at the detail, this is a floor mosaic. There's another kind of peeking up through the scaffolding. You can see the colors. The colors are really quite amazing in these mosaics. You can see one of the workers up on the scaffold there next to one of the columns. If you peek up above there, you can see one of the mosaics. More scaffolding. Another view of the icon of the Virgin Mary. You see all the tamas, the tamata there, the gifts of thanksgiving and repentance. Offer jewels, frankincense. Those are the small bones, fingers, of the innocents. close-up of the rather graphic icon of the slaughter of the innocents. See when Jesus and Mary are fleeing to Egypt by the decree of the angel. This is the chapel, looking into the chapel right outside the Catholic Church. Catholic Church and the statue of St. Jerome. I think this is one of the priests coming out from the grotto for communion. We were able to do liturgy there at the Church of the Nativity in the grotto. For Holy Communion, they came out and served communion in church. Father Isa here is one of the priests in Bethlehem and is connected with the Church of the Nativity. He was, I kind of had he came up to me, and most of the priests there are fluent in Greek and in Arabic, so I was immediately speaking Greek to him because I don't know Arabic, and he's trying to speak Greek to me. He says, he goes, "Do you speak English?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, that's better for me." So, but he actually went to seminary here in the United States at the Christ the Savior Seminary in Pennsylvania. He is more or less a parish priest in Bethlehem and ministering to people there. He was gracious enough to come to the hotel one evening and talk with us for about an hour about his life there. Father, and I forget this priest's name, but he was kind of the main celebrant of the liturgy at the Holy Nativity. Very, very young priest. I think he's a Arab priest as well. This is one of my favorite photos. It's actually a sizable statue of St. George on the horse slaying the dragon. So, yeah, it's very, you walk by. It's probably about 6, 7 feet tall. It's pretty tall. Holy altar in the main church above, looking in the apse. And I took this photo, as this shows what it was like in, let's say, the time that the Ottomans ruled. So it gives you a view of the Holy Sepulchre at the time of the Ottomans. So you see the main altar, the iconostasi here, and then you see the entrance to the grotto right here as you go down. So this just shows a little bit of how the church is laid out. The grotto underneath, and the chapel of the Innocents is here. We went outside the church on the south side, and there's an entrance on this side to get to the chapel of the Innocents. There's like an aerial larger view. There's there's not only the main church of the Nativity, the Catholic church to the left, but there's also an Armenian monastery, a Coptic monastery, and a Greek monastery all around there. So it's quite a large complex. This is a photo I found that kind of shows the view of the grotto from the west end, looking to the east towards the altar of the actual place of the birth of Christ. Not a very big place. And then up above, the main church. Oh, that's a good photo showing the mosaics. So we're going to skip out of here and go to our next destination, which is in Nablus. So Nablus is the place where Jacob's well, where Jesus met the Samaritan woman, and there, like many of the other sites, an early Christian temple was there, built around the time of Helen or Constantine, and I found some good photos that some of our pilgrims have not seen, so I just want to show you some of the things that we did see. This is a photo inside the church, and St. Volumenos who was in charge of the site in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. He was martyred. He was killed by some people say he was a Zionist extremist. Some people say he was mentally ill. But at any rate, he killed Volumenos, the priest monk who was in charge of the Jacob's Well Shrine in 1979. So his relics are there in the church, and he's now recognized as a saint. This is is looking towards the Holy Altar, and you see two stairwells going, these go underneath the Holy Altar, because Jacob's well is underneath. Beautiful church. There's Father Justinius, who is the priest monk who replaced St. Philomenos. He's basically in charge of taking care of the shrine. So we were able to meet him, and we were also able to celebrate liturgy there. This is a view from the outside of the church, the west main entrance of the church, another larger view of the entrance. Going inside the dome of the church, the Paraskeve. The west, this is the west end of the church. So you see a large mural icon of Mary, the Isodostis del Topo, which we just remember first. This is outside the courtyard. The only day it rained while we were there was this day. It rained very, very a lot. And actually, if I remember correctly, the story about this martyrdom of St. Philomenos said it rained the day he was martyred. It's quoted in. So this is looking into the well. See a bucket water being pulled up from the well. This is the little altar that's behind the well. There's the well, the altar behind it. This is looking in Nablus, the city. It's a good question. The question is, where are these churches located? Are they in the city, on the outskirts of the city? Most of them are in the city now. So Nablus, Jacob's Well, the shrine, the church is in the city. The Holy Sepulchre is in the middle of the city. The Church of the Nativity is basically in the middle of the city. So they're all well within the districts of the city limits, and there's a lot of buildings surrounding them. Somebody's riding a donkey. These pillars are the ancient time of the Roman times pillars that line the road. This is an icon that's in the church showing the martyrdom of St. John the Russian. This is the icon of the martyrdom of St. Philomenos. You see the man with the axe. That's how he was killed. St. Theodore's. Father Justinius, who you saw the photo of earlier, he's an iconographer, so he's done most of the icons in the church. He's very good. There's a family of St. Philomenos, the Samaritan woman, who were martyred with her. Another photo, another icon of the family. Another view of the grotto of the well. This will be the hierarchs behind the altar itself, the main church. The apse, the dome again. This is another view of the altar. I'm trying to get to the photos that I want to show you. The best meal we had the whole time we were there was in Nablus. Very good. Very good. Our host, I can't remember his name. Barb, I'm sorry, I can't tell if you're pleased with the food there. Okay, this is what I mean. These are old photos showing the well before you saw it as it is today. So you see there the little cave of the well. Obviously it's been enlarged since this time. Another photo of old altar. This was an old church. Probably this photo is early 20th, late 19th century. That's the church as it is today. That's the church under construction. So the new church, this photo on the internet. So this where those stairwells going down, there was little, little structures that probably get covered from the weather. This is what it looked like even before then. The ruins of the ancient temple, the ancient church that Ellen probably built. And then you see the ruins there with the little cave rooms as well. More pictures of construction. View of the well. That's it. So, doing for time. So we've been going for about 45 minutes here. I've only shown you 3 things. Maybe I'll just open it up for questions and we'll see where we're going. I don't want to keep you guys so many minutes. Any questions about what I've shown you so far, or anything else about the pilgrimage? So there's a history, unfortunate history of the people, the bishops, priests, and others who control these properties in the Holy Land. There's a lot of properties of Greek Orthodox Church that Jerusalem holds in Jerusalem in the Holy Land. But there, unfortunately, has been a history where some of that property has been sold, a lot of times to Jewish settlers. And they're thinking, well, why would we sell it? Well, it's probably, there's some, how would you say it, allegations that priests or bishops are receiving bribes to sell land. The bulk of the money is going to the patriarchy to raise more money, but the reasons that are being sold is possibly because of bribes. So Demetrius' question was, how can we prevent that? That's a good question. I'm not sure how you can prevent that other than probably the best thing to do is pray that it doesn't happen, because the less land that the Orthodox Church has in the Holy Land, it gives it less influence to stay in the Holy Land. Where the Christians in the Holy Land are being squeezed between the Jewish settlers and the government and the Muslims there. In Bethlehem, maybe 10% of the inhabitants or citizens of Bethlehem are Christian. In Nazareth, probably the same, very small Christian population. So I think another thing that is helpful is for us to continue pilgrimage to go to the Holy Land. The more Christians visit there, the more influence Christians have in these areas. So pray, and if you get an opportunity, please take pilgrimage there. Bill?
Last call for voting. Let's go vote.
If you haven't voted yet, well, please do so. Any other questions? Thank you for saying that. I'm happy to do another event, if you will, to share more about the pilgrimage. And let me know when we can schedule it. I'm happy to do it. So, any other questions? Anything else?